direct city allocations, but we are not asking them to take any cuts either.
Thank you so much. I have a message from Scott. He says, what, if any, has been the state's level of involvement thus far? Mayor?
Yeah, and I have to say, I've been really grateful for the governor's help. He has been very supportive all the way through this. They have helped provide us people. They've helped provide us resources. They are funding a lot of the nonprofits that are doing this navigation, housing navigation, to help families get connected to services. The challenge with the failure of the federal legislation is, I'll tell you, to compare this. I mean, the state has given us more than about, at this point, almost $26 million of funding to help support migrants throughout the last year. Our total dollars received from the federal government right now are only 900,000. So the state has literally done almost 30 times more than what the feds have done. And we're still looking for more ways they can help. But I'm in regular touch with the governor. He's been very helpful. The Joint Budget Committee has been helpful. And so we're continuing to push. I think what's unusual about this is the entire weight of this effort really falls uniquely on Denver. And so there are no other cities that are really receiving or welcoming or supporting migrants in the state right now. We do have some neighboring cities that have offered to help, like Fort Collins and Grand Junction and others who've been really generous. So I think we're trying to get state action, although sometimes it's harder for the state to do that politically when all the resources just come to Denver, but they've been great partners so far.
Thank you so much. It looks like we have Amber's hand up. Please, Amber.
Yes, thanks for the program, Joanna, and thank you so much, Mayor, for, probably getting something in your lap that maybe you weren't expecting. But I think you've done such a great job representing, the core of who Denverites are. So thank you so much. I have a question about, I've been working at a food bank and heard some chatter that migrants are not allowed to have food in their hotel rooms. Can you clarify anything about what is going on? Because to me, that seems counterproductive to what we're trying to do if, they're trying to have sustainable housing or semi-sustainable housing, but yet can't bring their food into their room.
Yeah, great question. And it is a strange situation, I must confess. We've had this conversation a number of times with the providers who are running these sites. We do provide meals on site each day, kind of breakfast, lunch, and dinner at each of these sites that are provided meals. The challenge is we don't have refrigerators in many of these hotel rooms for the short-term stay. So many folks don't have a way to keep or to care for food. And so we started getting some cockroach and early rodent infestation in some of the places where folks did have food in their rooms. And so we've both exterminated those, we've cleaned them out, we've kept them safe. But the providers do still have that policy in place because they're just worried about public health because we don't have the capacity to do, 3,000 or 4,000 refrigerators across those rooms. So they can eat food obviously in the common space. There's food provided each day. But yes, we took a family that we're helping support out to lunch a couple days ago and had leftovers. And it was a frustrating reality to say you can't just take the leftovers back to your room. So we will keep relooking at that policy. But I would say right now it's just been a structure the hotel providers have put in place because they were worried about people trying to cook or support or keep food that wouldn't keep without refrigeration. And this is why our big focus is on getting them out of these shelters and into actual apartment units and to real kitchenettes and places where they can cook and cook their own food, which they really want to do. But that's been a provider policy that's still in place. We're still in conversations about whether or not we should change it.
Thank you.
You bet. And that was one of those things I heard too. And I was like, this is crazy. Why is that a rule? And then they gave me the 15-minute explanation and I understand it, but I'm still a little ambivalent about it, I must confess.
Yeah, it just seems, it's a freezing cold day outside. So you got to go outside of your room to have your breakfast and lunch. I mean, I understand you can only do so much and, this is out of your control. But maybe, there can be a better solution.
Yeah. And again, they all are in common spaces. So it's all kind of the hotel lobbies or no one has to go outdoors at all in the cold. I mean, you have to leave your room, but no one has to go outdoors.
Okay, great. Good to know.
Thank you, Mary. I have an idea on that as I help out the migrants a lot. They do need that food, and sometimes that's the only food that they can rely on. What if at the front desk and we provide bins? Maybe we get donations of the clear bins and put a sticky note or something where we're labeling room 231, and they can leave their food there, come back down to the common space, eat their food so it's not going back up to the room, because the majority of the time, these people are very hungry and they just want that meal. That's just an idea. I'm going to move on.
That's a great suggestion. It's a great suggestion. I'll talk to the providers about it.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to William. He says, is there a fund set up for donations to the migrant crisis?
There is absolutely one, and I think Alex can probably share with us, but it is at the Rose Foundation has a newcomers fund that we are using to directly, we're asking folks to send donations there. We're using it to support people directly, and Rose is also. And so, Alex, I don't know if you have the information for that or contact info, but if we can put that in the chat, that would be great.
Thank you. And then it looks like Keith has his hand up. Keith?
Yeah, thanks. Just, this is kind of anecdotal a little bit. I know that you announced yesterday the budget cuts to the rec centers were some of the first cuts. And, as somebody, myself and my wife have been using Rudy Rec Center for, probably the last 4 or 5 years. And what we've noticed anyway is that, especially in the last year or so, like just the tremendous increase of use from what, I think a lot of the rec centers are based in, kind of near low income housing sometimes. And there's just so many kids there. There's so many folks that are using these rec centers. And I think we're a little nervous that they won't have a place to go now, after school, or that we see all these youth basketball programs and things like that. So just, trying to keep that in mind as cuts are coming, that some of these places provide such needed space for folks from these communities to be in. And also, the employees of those rec centers that are, going to have reduced hours in the face of some of this as well.
I appreciate that, Keith. I talked to all the Parks and Rec team yesterday morning before we announced that. And I have the same concern. I will tell you what we did to try to address that. Each of the decisions we've looked at on budget cuts are made in tandem with our chief financial officer and with our chief equity officer, who's a guy named Dr. Ben Sanders, who looks directly at what is the potential equity impact across a decision like this. How will neighborhoods that have the greatest need or the greatest risk be affected? And so one of the things we did on these closures, to Dr. Ben's suggestion, is to protect what you described. We reduced the number of days at the largest regional centers, the ones like in my neighborhood in Central Park, that tend to be in more middle class and upper middle class neighborhoods. We reduced those from 7 days to 6. The ones that are the smaller regional sites, the local sites that tend to be smaller sites, more in communities that are affected, we did not reduce the number of days there. We instead made some hour reductions in the early mornings and others where there's lower volume time, for that very desire to protect kids that we know use that for important after school programming in the spring and the summer. So it's not perfect, but we did redesign it, Keith, with exactly that risk in mind. And I think one of the things we're going to look at is, Joanna talked about how incredibly supportive the community has been, the Highland moms and others who've been so engaged in this. One of the things we'd love to do is engage some of those community supporters and what we can all help do to activate some of the community and neighborhood spaces over the summers for our young people and our kids who may have reduced access to summer programming. So we're mindful about how to focus on both of those, but that is precisely the risk we're trying to avoid in all these places.
Thank you so much. And speaking of Rudy Rec Center, well, I'm here with all these beautiful people this morning. My little guys at Rudy Rec playing basketball. Go Rude Dogs. Awesome. It looks like Amber made a comment. What can citizens who are not bilingual do to be part of more service to the city and to the migrants? Mayor?
Yes, thank you. I have to just say, I always find it so moving that the most common question everyone always has is, how can I help? Like, how can I do more to help more? Which is, to me, the most powerful thing about the city. So just want to tell you how grateful I am for that. The things we can do more. We are running these big legal clinics that is the best chance for us to help people get access to work authorization. We do need some translators there, but we do have a lot of roles for folks that are not necessarily Spanish speakers. And so, and I think Alex can give you information on that too. We're going to try to move 1,000 people through work authorization applications over the next 10 days. So we're going to be running clinics every day with 100+ people in them. They got to find places to sit. They got to get pens and papers. They have snacks. They have places for childcare. We have places for translation. We have early forms you can get printed and copied and organized. And so there is a lot of need for coordination there. Would love to have you help in one of those. And then obviously there's a lot that we're doing. My wife is doing this today. We're helping move a family into housing. People that have time and can help on housing navigation. You know, it's literally just looking for open apartments. It's calling landlords. It's seeing if we can find units. And then the city helps pay the first month's deposit and the deposit and first month's rent. But it really is a matter of we need additional help on sourcing units. And so Alex has been leading a volunteer effort across the city and city staff that are doing housing navigation. So that's the other one where we would definitely love people's help.
That's wonderful. Tell your wife, thank you, Mayor. You know what is amazing about Denver INC and the RNOs is you all have that impact in this community. Mayor's talking about getting people in this housing. What can the RNOs do to help with that? Each RNO. Well, we can get donations, right? We can set up our RNOs and we can have donations for pots and pans, for blankets, for people that we know are moving in the community. We have no say of what happens at Eagle Pass in Arizona when these families are traveling all the way here. But we have the opportunity here in Denver to be a humanitarian and to help out our neighbor. They're part of our community. And that's why this month is titled the Month of Love, Unity in the Community. So thank you so much. It looks like we're at 9:32. Lamone has an amazing question. It's going to be a long question. I'm just going to say it, but feel free to address her. Lamone, drop your email in there. It says regarding the rec center and DMV cuts, why cut operations of agencies that provide direct services to the public, as opposed to those agencies that are primarily administration only with no contact with public? People are stressed and suffering and need help. And I know we just have few minutes left on this, Mayor.
Yeah.
You can touch on it a little or send her an email.
It's a very fair question, Lamone. Great to see you. Thanks so much for your feedback. I'll tell you the reason why we announced these first was Parks and Rec has been coming to us and saying, we have to make a whole bunch of decisions about summer staffing right now. So they had to either post all of the positions to hire for the summer immediately, and we had to decide if we were going to post those or not. And so they were the first ones to say, if we do have to make cuts, this is where we should begin. We will have many, unfortunately, more cuts coming. These will not be the deepest or the most serious. They just were ones that started earliest because they have time restraints. This cut about $5 million. We have another $175 million to cut. So every one of those agencies, general services, technology services, city attorney's office, all of those that are more internally facing, also will have very significant cuts. We'll have to, we have not been able to rule out the risks of furloughs or layoffs. I mean, it will be very serious impact on city employees, despite their incredible work. And so it is not restricted. We're trying to do everything we can to reduce public facing impact, but unfortunately at this scale we won't be able to avoid it entirely. So we're trying to, as Keith was saying earlier, limit the impact in communities where we know we don't want to exacerbate those problems. So that is true. I will just say I still remain very optimistic about this. I think what the benefit is, we now know the benefit of knowing there's no federal support coming is we have to just right size our own city budget to figure out what kind of services we can support, how we can reprioritize this, and how we can move forward with a path that both provides really high quality services to the folks that are here and also make sure to serve the city taxpayers. We think we can do that. It will just require probably a smaller number of total migrants that we can serve, but we can serve the ones we have here very, very well. And we're going to work on making sure we do that while not having folks end up on the streets. And so we remain optimistic. This is a city that always finds a way. The volunteer and community engagement has been incredible. And so we are going to figure this out. We are bigger than this challenge, but we know there's some hard days ahead, but we couldn't be more grateful than to have the chance to do it with you all and the city employees who are all in to help.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I'm going to end with a comment that Susan left. She said, flowers are good for humanity. All of us. You all are a flower. Okay, I'm the rose because I'm wearing red. We're all flowers, guys. Thank you so much, Mayor, so much for addressing these issues. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to, if anyone wants to reach out, Alex had left the information or his colleague in the chat. Again, have a wonderful day, Mayor. Yes, thank you
so much for your help. Take care.
Thank you. Wonderful. That was exciting. So happy he could jump on, and I'm so happy you guys got some of your questions answered. We are going to go ahead and move on in the agenda. Bear with me. Um, is everyone able to see my screen?
Yeah, you want me to bring it up on my, it's not full screen though, Joanna. I don't know if you can put it into, go to slideshow on top and then just click on from current slide. Yep, there
Thank
you
you.
go. And then it should go in the presentation mode. Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I can chat, but I'm not technologically savvy. So you got a smart team like Adam doing this. All right. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump into the INC committee reports, and I'm going to hand this off to Keith if you think that we have enough time to do this. If not, it looks like I do have the executive director with DPS Face Department here. I have her set to speak at 10. However, please let me know your thoughts, Keith. Thank you.
Yeah, we actually have quite a bit we need to do at the end of the meeting. So if she's here now and wants to talk now, that's great. And then we can just save all the committee reports and the other things that we have to do at the end of the meeting till after this. So that's fine.
Okay. Adella, are you present and able to start?
I am. Would you like me to share my slideshow with you to share my screen, or how do you prefer?
I think you could share your screen. Adam, could we help assist her with that, please?
I think, yeah, you need to be.
Yeah,
I can-
everybody should be able to share their screens.
Yeah, you just hit the bottom there, Adela. It says share screen in green.
Okay.
And then you should be able to select your screen and bring it up.
Sounds good. Give me just a moment.
And in the meantime, while she's pulling that up, I am so excited to have Adella here. Shout out to Amanda. Thank you so much for making this possible. I'm a mother, single mom of 3 kiddos that attend DPS, and I personally have felt the impacts of what is happening in our school system. So instead of worrying about what's the overcrowding in our schools, I thought about what could we do to utilize this month, Unity in the Community, to help support our migrant children, some that have never even been to school. You guys, this is their first rodeo. And so what could we do to make it more possible? Again, thank you so much, Amanda, for doing this. And Adella, I'm going to pass it to you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, good morning. Buenos dias, everyone. My name is Adella Arredondo. I'm here from the Family and Community Engagement Department at Denver Public Schools. I'm going to share briefly a little bit about our department, and then I'm going to give you an overview of what we are doing in support of our new arrival students. Please feel free to jump in, ask questions. Can I just confirm you can see my screen?
Yep.
You can see
We
it?
can.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's all good.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So a little bit about our department, who we are. So in Denver Public Schools, we are the department that exists to support authentic relationship building, collaboration, partnerships with organizations such as this, right? But also building capacity within our schools around family engagement and partnership development. And why we do this is because we know that our students don't show up just as students, right? We know that there are those external resources that our students need to be successful, to thrive. Sometimes it's seeing the student beyond that classroom, right? It's seeing that student from the experiences that they have at home, the experiences in their neighborhood. Are they showing up hungry? Do they need clothing, right? How are families invited to be partners of that education? And we know that when we do that, we are supporting student achievement, decrease in disciplinary cases, and improving our attendance. So that is why our department exists. I will say that our department has somewhat shifted a little bit in response to the needs. So we're doing our job and responding to the needs of community. And then just a little overview about FACE. We have 5 teams in the FACE department. Community hubs is one of them. Those are our resource centers that exist within the school district. We have 6 resource centers across the district that provide resources and services to families. Our Face Family Connect program is a program that supports social workers in our schools. So whenever a school social worker is dealing with a situation, supporting with the family where the support is much greater need than what a school social worker can handle, they make a referral to our Family Connect team, and they go out and do case management, home visits, and additional supports. We also have youth services, and this is where we provide wraparound supports to our youth at 5 comprehensive high schools. And in the summer, we run the Denver Youth Employment Program through the City and County of Denver Office of Economic Development. It's a grant and a partnership that we've had for years. And then our family constituency line, and I want to make sure that I highlight this for you all as community members. This is the line that supports our students and families. It's basically a call center, although if that team hears that I called it a call center, they will be very mad at me. But if you can imagine a call center, it is basically that. And it's a helpline that exists Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4:30, to answer any questions or concerns regarding anything related to DPS. And then lastly is our empowerment and engagement team that really leads that family empowerment, family engagement component of our work. So we're a team about, I don't know, 75, 80 staff members in the department. So family constituency services, again, why I think this is important is I'll share a little story. Last year, we had a mental health day back in March, and a student was dropped out of a school. And the neighbors across the street don't have students, right? But they saw this student walk up to a door, open it, couldn't open it, walked around the building. Other door was locked. And so they saw this student that had been dropped off and there was no school that day. That community member went over. I get chills talking about it, grabbed the student and said, "Hey, there's no school today. I wonder if your mom knows." And that community member called our helpline. We were able to then help that family find the student's name. He was a young 7-year-old. And so then we were able to call mom and say, "Hey, there's no school today. We're very sorry that you dropped off your child, but no school today." And that community member, right, who has no kids in DPS, was able to step in, keep that child safe until mom was able to pick them up. So again, any questions related to DPS, this may be a question about my bus is running late, or why is school canceled? There's an operational closure at a school. Why? What happened? Pipes burst. There's, floor cleanup that needs to happen. Or simply, my child is being bullied and I talked to the principal and nothing's being done about it. I need some help. So we typically have tier 1 calls, which are basic calls where we're able to respond to, and then tier 2 calls that allow us to assign a case manager to that situation and follow it until resolution is accomplished. And sometimes this also allows us to have mediations between our school leaders and families. And then, whoops, if I could go back. I don't know how to do that now. But I want to make sure I'll go back to that number so that you all can have it and have it handy in case you ever need to call the helpline. This is the number that you should have on hand for any questions related to, again, to DPS. So please make note of this phone number. 720-423-3054. That is the DPS helpline. Any questions that you have, that any families that you're working with, if they have questions, they can call this helpline, or you can send an email to facehelpline@dpsk12.org. And then I want to talk about our community hubs. As I mentioned earlier, they are resource centers that exist across the district. These resource centers were intended to serve as resource centers to support our students and their families in accessing resources across Denver Public Schools. There's a series of supports that are offered there. And though our community hubs are not resource centers, they're not crisis centers, they have somewhat shifted to kind of respond to the needs of community right now. But our community hub offers a variety of different basic need resources. Some of them have clothing boutiques. We offer ESL classes, GED classes. Last year, we were very proud to have our first cohort of 28 DPS moms who completed their GED in Spanish at our community hubs in less than 1 year of operating these community hubs. So we have a variety of different resources. We have newcomer, new arrival supports there. We also have a pipeline for Denver Public Schools hiring and have a workforce coordinator that can help families update their resume, help them look for a job, help them prepare for that job interview. So it's a really great place where families can access resources. And this resource is open to our DPS families and the Denver community. So know that we're here to serve our community. And all of the classes and workshops that are offered at our community hubs are offered in partnership with childcare, because we know that childcare can sometimes be a barrier to accessing these programmings. And so those 28 moms who were able to cross the stage last year were able to do so because one of the barriers was you don't have to worry about finding childcare for your child. Bring them with you. So that's been really amazing support. And right now our community hubs have been at the forefront in Denver Public Schools, responding to the needs of community. So this is where our community hubs are located. Again, they don't belong to the school, they belong to the community. They serve that community. So we have one at Johnson Elementary School in Southwest Denver, Place Bridge Academy in Southeast Denver, Colfax Elementary in Northwest Denver, Smith Elementary in near Northeast, and then Swansea in the Swansea-Elyria neighborhood, and then John M.S. in the far Northeast neighborhood. This is where our 6 locations are at. I will also share this slideshow with you, Joanna, in case you want to share it or upload it somewhere.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And just a side note, these hubs are amazing, you all. As a single mom of 3 kids, I utilized the Colfax hub at one point when I needed a little bit of food for my kids. And I was very grateful for that. They have an amazing staff. And so I can say as a participant, they're really amazing. And it's so wonderful that it is part of the community. Again, unity in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. And that's right. I forgot to mention 2 of our community hubs have grocery stores. One of them is building a food pantry right now. One of the things I forgot to mention, because I always forget, is that we have energy outreach assistance. So if any family has a shutoff notice from their Excel bill, they can come in with that shutoff notice and we will help them take care of that. We have a grant through Energy Outreach Colorado where we're able to support families with that piece of making sure that their electricity is not shut off. As someone who experienced that growing up, it is quite detrimental, and you don't realize how much you need power until you don't have it anymore. This is also the locations of our community hubs. We also have a referral link. So if you're working with a family and you prefer to do a referral, you can scan that QR code and fill out the form. Or you can also just walk in and our staff members will schedule appointments as well. All right. Any questions about the FACE department before I transition to talking about new arrivals in DPS?
Adella, there is a question on Zoom. Would it be a Denver thing or a Colorado thing to have a second official count in the second semester?
I believe that would be a Colorado thing. I believe that my understanding is that our district is advocating for that right now. As you all heard from the mayor, all of the students who we have enrolled after the October count, DPS is not receiving funding for those students. And there's there's a lot of students that we have enrolled. We're almost at 3,000, and I say 3,000 and counting. So I believe that would be something we need to advocate for at the state level and at the federal level.
Thank you for answering that question. And just to reiterate, everyone, we all are these constituents. We voted these people in power, right? And so it is your vote, it is your letter, it is your email that you send that we are able to have the second official count. Thank you.
Okay, so as far as new arrivals, I want to preface this conversation by saying that in Denver Public Schools, we will use the term of new arrivals for the purpose of encompassing a more holistic definition We often hear the word migrant, we often hear immigrant, new to country student, a newcomer student, and there's a lot of definitions. So the term we will use for purposes of this presentation is new arrivals. So a little bit about what DPS is doing on a weekly basis. We have a comprehensive team from across many departments, all of these departments here listed. Academics, chief of staff, which is the superintendent's office, early childhood, multilingual department, my department, our federal programs, our legal department, transportation. All of us come together in partnership with the Office of Children's Affairs with the City and County of Denver, and we just brainstorm and give updates on what we're seeing and problem solve together. This has been something we started a year ago in the fall. We were meeting once a month, and then it went to bi-weekly, and now we're at weekly meetings. So this is something we continue to do because it's helping us be able to effectively resolve situations that are coming up and also find other opportunities to get better at getting better. Overall enrollment. So this chart will show you the differences from 1 year ago. So if you see October count down here, you see that blue line, that was from the 22-23 school year, last school year. And you could see that at our October count, we are much higher now than we were then. And we continue to spike as the time evolves from October count. So this is just to show you the differences in enrollment from what we considered a little bit of a more normal school year last year to the school year we are seeing this year. And then this chart here is the pace of new arrivals continues to be pretty steady, where we have about 200 students who are enrolling, anywhere between 200 and 300 who are enrolling every week in Denver Public Schools. Right now, as of February 2nd, we were at 3,221 students that have enrolled this school year, are new arrival students. And I say that continues to happen because we have an enrollment event, a couple enrollment events coming up next week where there's at least 20 to 50 students that are enrolled at those enrollment events, where we're targeting supports around the shelters that the city has put in place. Okay, and then when we think about the regional and school impact, again, very much what we're seeing in the city, what we see in community is reflected in Denver Public Schools. When the city announced that they were going to start releasing families from shelters who had exceeded their 37 days in shelter, that was February 5th. These were the hot points. These were the areas of Denver where we were seeing a lot of the enrollment peaks. So you can see the really large red bubbles. I can say confidently that I don't believe there's a school that has not been impacted. All of our schools have been impacted, some more than others, but we do see those hot spots, and they also tend to be within the areas of where the shelters that the city has put in place are located. All right, so when we think about school-based support, instructional supports, we know academics is a big piece of this. So we have been able to, all of our students that are coming in are being served by our multilingual education department. And the first step is to identify them as newcomer students. This is being done by our multilingual education department and leveraging other departments because of the influx of students that we are seeing. They don't have the capacity to do this alone. So we're having to bring other teams along. We are also expanding the newcomer program in Denver Public Schools. So we had established Tinley schools, established newcomer programs. As a result of the influx, we are having to add additional newcomer programs. Another requirement from our state is access testing, which is basically assessing the English level proficiencies of our students who are coming in, who are new to country, new arrival students. And so that is a required English language proficiency assessment. And there's 22,000 multilingual education students last year, and we are anticipating that this year we will be right over 24,000. Yesterday was actually the cutoff date to conduct that testing. The state requires us up until February 9th to perform those tests. We will no longer have to do those starting next week. And then when I think about our classrooms, I do want to be transparent. We have, per our DCTA contract with our teacher union, we are required, the capacity of our classrooms is at 35, and most of our classrooms are at that capacity or reaching that capacity. And so we are having to make some adjustments in terms of where students are going, because some schools, specifically again around where those shelters are located, have reached that capacity where they can no longer accept more students. And so we may have some situations where, unfortunately, this is not the practice of DPS. I want to make sure I'm super clear that that is not the practice of DPS. But unfortunately, we have had to split up siblings, where one sibling will go to this elementary school and then the second grader will go to a different elementary school, because there's not enough capacity in terms of seating. What we're also a little bit concerned of is that we're enrolling families where they're living in temporary shelter. Let's say they're in far northeast area in the Montbello community. We enroll them there, and then when they secure housing, they move, let's say, to Southwest Denver or West Denver, and we have to now transition the student to a new school, right? And so that transition is also going to be something that we're going to have to start navigating as families start securing more permanent housing. When it comes to my department, family and community engagement, some of the things that we're doing is hands-on dedicated support. So across our department, a lot of our efforts have shifted from our daily work to really what are the needs of our new arrival students. We are making sure that we are supporting enrollment events that are happening in community, because as I mentioned, we're enrolling 20 to 50 students at one single time. So really deploying teams out to help schools enroll students as quickly as possible. We also were granted the opportunity to hire a migrant family engagement specialist, which will start on the 21st of this month. Their role, I hope, will be to work with many of you in community to also help bring in additional resources and also build capacity and support our families across the district and our family liaisons at schools, as well as school leaders in supporting our families. Some of the other things we are focusing on is bringing in immediate needs. So we've had students who show up to school with no shoes. We've had students who show up to school with socks or a t-shirt and shorts. So really getting the appropriate clothing. We're bringing in donations. One of the things we are struggling with, that I'll be honest, is our storage. I literally have clothing in my office. We have clothing outside of, actually Amanda's on this call. Amanda has no idea, but somebody dropped off clothing next to her cubicle and she's like, why is this here? We're receiving donations and just making room for them. And then also coats. One of the things we're struggling is some of our basic needs. We get a lot of clothing donations, but socks and underwear have to be new. And so that is something that we are struggling to collect. We're working to hopefully find a corporate partner to help us recruit additional new underwear and socks for our students. Health and wellness, through a grant that the Denver Public Schools Foundation received and in partnership with Denver Health, we were able to launch a Denver Health mobile clinic that just started last week. They're going out to our community hubs and they're taking in about 15 appointments per day. And this includes all clinic services, gynecology, wellness check, physical exam, vaccines, and also enrolling families into financial assistance programs through Denver Health. We are also partnering with a community member who is helping us host vaccine clinics at some of our schools. And then we continue to build partnership with private donations, city agencies, philanthropic agencies, to create direct pipelines for additional donations. We are also in need of school supplies, backpacks. Schools, our schools are reaching out saying, hey, do you have any backpacks? Do you have school supplies? We're doing the best we can, but we also know that not all schools have a budget for this, and we have a limited supply of those items, which are essential for student learning. We're also recruiting volunteers, all volunteers, but more specifically Spanish-speaking volunteers. I think the mayor said it also, right? He's heard the stories from families. Well, you can imagine reading the story of a fifth grader telling you some of the experiences that they saw, that they witnessed, the horrific things that I think are going to be part of who they are for the rest of their lives, but also the trauma that this is, that they're bringing with, riding a train, running away from animals in the forest, in the jungle, I should say, to get here and to be in an education setting for the first time, valuing education. Some of them never even having an education experience. We have children who are in fourth grade who have never been in an education setting. Part of that is not just being in a classroom, but it's also bringing in additional supports in those classrooms, and would really appreciate having additional volunteers to help us, whether that's helping welcome our students in or sitting down with a reading group, whatever it may be, we can find a space for you all. And then also bringing clarity to DPS and to our community at large. We know that some of our families and some of our community members who are helping families are unclear as to how to enroll in DPS. And the truth is, it is somewhat complex right now because of the influx of students. Our normal process is not always streamlined in what works for everyone. So we've created a one-pager. Joanna, I will also share that with you once it's available, because it is a little bit confusing. But again, you can always call the helpline. And that's what we're hoping to do with that is bring clarity around how to enroll and how to access Denver Public School services. We're leaning into also strengthening our DPS folks with resources, because anybody who has an interaction with the family or with the student is always found just floundering and like, how do I provide resources? I don't know of any resources. Where's the resource list? And y'all have been mentioning it a lot, but Highland Mommies, oh my gosh, shout out to them because they have been incredible. The resource list that they created, yes, Joanna, oh my gosh, my heart goes out to them because the resource list that they created is so comprehensive. We have been sharing that with our counselors, with our family liaisons, with staff across the district who are like, I want to help, but I don't know of any of these resources and I have a full-time job. So now they have access to that. And then our team is continuing to look for additional grants and resources. We did receive $50,000 from the Denver Public Schools Foundation through a partnership that they were able to bring in to help us designate address specific needs for our new arrival students and families. I've been talking a lot, so I want to make sure I pause to answer any questions.
Thank you for that. You're doing such a great job in informing us. So thank you so much. I just wanted to comment really quick on your new underwear and socks, Clothes to Kids of Denver, an amazing organization where they have plenty of that. So please refer families there, or if you need that. I'm going to go ahead and say a question by one of our delegates, Brian Wilson. He says, are the impacted schools getting any assistance from the governor's office or the mayor's office, especially given the fact that they're coming after count day? If you can address that question, that'd be great.
Yeah, so as of right now, we are not receiving any additional assistance from state government or local government. I think you all heard from the mayor, their budget is tight as well. They've been extremely supportive. There are some city agencies who have stepped up, some council offices who have stepped up to help. Denver Department of Public Health and Environment, during the November, they were able to buy gloves, hats, coats for families. So that was really helpful, because yes, Clothes to Kids exist, Joanna, but they're also not taking in additional families. So that's been also the challenging part, is we're finding additional resources because we know the resources are limited in that space. So they've been able to help us. Small donations here and there have been able to help, but we are not receiving additional funding for any of these students. What Denver Public Schools has been doing, we don't have a per pupil calculation of how much it costs DPS, as the needs of each individual student vary. However, after the cutoff funding, DPS is losing out more than $13,800. Between funding from the state and additional mill levy revenue that we would have been able to raise. However, all that being said, we are committed to ensuring that funding is not a barrier to providing the necessary supports for our newcomer students and families. So therefore, we have set aside additional funding in our amended budget to ensure that we have funding available to support the myriad of needs that arise. At the same time, we are hopeful that the state will provide additional funding for students that arrived after the October 1 cutoff date. But as of right now, that is something we are still working towards advocating for, and we would appreciate your support in doing so as well.
Thank you, Adella. And I'm gonna change that. I actually sit on a board for Close to Kids, so we're gonna fix that. Don't worry. I have another question, of course. I have another question from Lamone. What countries are these families coming from, and how is DPS navigating students with diverse languages?
Yeah. So we the most that we have seen right now are Central American countries, Colombia, Venezuela being the number one. We continue to receive students from Mexico. We always are receiving students from other countries as well. I don't have the chart in this specific slideshow. But I know that the top country that we're seeing is obviously in response to the Venezuelan community that the city is serving. I can get that information and share it back with you all. And then in response to how we're responding, we're recruiting. Last year, we recruited a lot of teachers from other countries who speak the languages of our students. So we recruited a lot of teachers from out of country, Dominican Republic, who were able to speak the language. We recruited teachers from Colombia. We have an international educators program. And so that was able to help us bring in additional educators. And that is one of the things, right, is going back to the response of our student needs is we are needing to recruit additional Spanish-speaking paraprofessionals right now and Spanish-speaking teachers as well.
Thank you so much. Is there anybody on the chat? Let me open up that has their hand up. If not,
I can also stop sharing my screen.
oh, okay, thank you. Okay, I don't see any hands up and oh, we have a question in from Kristen. Is DPS working with mountain communities who have historically had high mid-year enrollments by new arrivals? Eagle County School District comes to her mind.
We have not, as far as I know, we have not. We are so swamped that I don't think we've been able to pause and see what else is happening. I think that there's been some collaboration with like neighboring school districts in the metro area, but not outside of at the larger state level, no.
And I'm so sorry I missed Bruce's question. He said, is DPS also getting Chinese students?
I cannot confirm that. I would have to go back and check, Joanna, on that, or Bruce. I would have to go back and check where are students arriving from. I actually haven't looked at that chart in quite a bit of time. I would have to go back and verify that.
Thank you. Amber was wondering if you could share the list of resources and what the citizens can do to help with DPS. I know you had spoke on the Highlands Mommy with their amazing list, but what could we really do? It was really important for me in this meeting to have DPS here because as we sit as these RNOs, we have each schools that support our RNO members that have kiddos that go there like myself. So what could we do, like Adella, for each RNO, the resources? It looks like you just sent something, but just understand the power that everybody has here today to really have that unity in the community and utilizing our platform to help this situation.
Yeah, thank you for that question. And thank you all for your commitment to helping our students. I would say first and foremost, I will also share that the needs of every school vary by school. Some schools have greater resources. We know that, right? Some schools are able to fundraise more money and therefore have different needs. So one of the recommendations I would make is you can either partner with our department and help us bring in additional like school supplies, backpacks, again, underwear and socks is what we're trying to bring in. Or you can also go to your local school and find out what are their immediate needs. Also volunteers, I forgot to mention that. Volunteers are also something that goes through our office, where we have to do background checks on all of our volunteers. And each individual school also has varying needs. So a school may have more specific needs related to the community that they're serving, and some of those needs. Schools have started clothing drives. They've also started food drives, right, where they give students and families food to take home on the weekends. Some schools have brought in social work volunteers, mental health providers. So it kind of depends on which approach you want to take, whether you go and support at the school level or you want to support at the district level. But know that any way that you can help, we would appreciate it. And I shared with you all the same resource list that we've been sharing with our staff members, which is from Highland Mommies. I also shared my contact information. If you have any additional questions or ideas, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you. Thank you. It looks like Brian said it would be great to see those posted locally throughout all of Denver on various social media platforms. I think that's an absolutely wonderful idea. Also, Ellen, what a great idea. If your school has a backpack program, our RNO, well, her RNO supports our elementary school backpack group financially and with calls for donations. So both of them. So that's wonderful as well. I'm so happy to see our RNOs doing that. It looks like my understanding, Merritt says, my understanding is DPS is utilizing Uber and Lyft services. Is there a plan to implement school bus services?
Yeah, so in some cases, Uber and Lyft is being utilized. And the reason for this is there's a shortage of bus drivers. And this is not just a shortage of bus drivers here in Denver. It's a national shortage of bus drivers across education systems across the nation. So that has continues to be a challenge. We have implemented new bus routes and brought in additional bus drivers. In fact, this is another reason why I agree with the mayor in his thoughts of helping us get individuals work permits and working, because some of them have experience. Some of them, last year in November, we had a family come to our November board meeting. One of the things they shared was they walked into a community hub, right? And then they were able to get their get English level, get access to ESL classes. They were able to get support in accessing a resume, getting together with job interviews, and now we're serving as a bus driver for Denver Public Schools. Another one was a paraprofessional. Like they want to work, right? And we have a huge opportunities for our families to work. So we are recruiting, we are hiring for bus drivers as well, and we have implemented additional bus routes, but have leaned into Uber and Lyft to support some of those needs as well.
Thank you. I love what Adrian said in the chat. Migrants could be bus drivers for DPS or RTD. So that's wonderful. There's something that you mentioned, Adella, about the class size, right? And like where the students go. So I live Harkness Heights area, and the school that my kiddos are in Centennial. We have kind of the opposite. We have an amazing core group of families that are fundraising. However, we need more students. So what can we do to gather more students to help support the school? I understand like you'll have one sibling, from our new families and then another sibling, but we have the opportunity to bring in more. So maybe highlighting those schools like Centennial that need more students where we can serve that community.
Excellent point, Joanna. And that's actually something that the work group started doing last week, is that we're looking at schools where there is capacity and starting to think about how we again, bring in additional bus routes to bring students to those schools. And if you think about busing in Denver Public Schools and the historic context around busing, that is some of the challenges that we also have to overcome, because we would be busing students outside of their neighborhood schools, outside of these locations, to schools that do have, capacity to take on new students. So that is kind of the next step in navigating this. In the far Northeast, we're reaching that point where we can no longer enroll new students in that area because of how many students that area has received due to the amount of shelters in that area. So our next step is to look at what are the schools that do have capacity, and how do we overcome that situation of busing students to those locations as well.
Wonderful. Well, remember, bless them to Centennial. We're a great community. Looks like
you.
Amber said, yes, it looks like Amber said, with the increase in property taxes, which largely go towards schools, is DPS hoping for more funds next year to pay, again, the bus drivers and teachers more and have more funds for more resources?
Yeah, I can't entirely answer that question from the budget perspective, but we know that we are currently looking at projections for schools for next year. And based on those projections, we will be able to make recommendations around budget and what that implies. I am not 100% sure on where the budget from our property taxes goes. As you've heard from the mayor, there are some city shortfalls as well. So I think that'll be a question that I will leave up to those higher up in my organization to be able to truthfully be able to answer.
Thank you, Adella. I know sometimes we get asked questions and we wish we could answer, but we just can't. But again, we're all constituents. We're all voting, right? So utilize your voice and put that pressure on the people that need that pressure. So thank you. I'm just looking to see if I have any more hands up, as I only have Adella just a little bit more. This has just been a wonderful way to get to know what it looks like, right, with our migrants in the city, and what we could do as the mayor, as our school, but just as constituents. Like, what can we do? If I don't have any questions, any further questions for Adella? Oh, it looks like Gertie has a question. Please, Gertie.
Mine isn't really a question. It is just to commend you on what you're doing. I am way past having kids in school age, and my grandkids aren't there yet. And but I've taught in the, seems like it was the last century. And I understand the pressures that the teachers are under. Having a new kid come into your class just when you think you're getting things rolling, it's a challenge for the teachers. And I really appreciate the work that you're doing, Adella. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. It is absolutely, it takes a lot of passion and a lot of heart to do this work. I think you said it exactly right. Taking in one student is hard enough, but taking in, up to 35 students in a classroom who are new to the country, who don't speak the language, who have experienced a lot of trauma getting here, who may have food insecurity, right? All of those components, and then bringing into one classroom. And how do we do that with love and care and nurture and support the growth? And we can't do that alone. It really does take, this is an opportunity where we're highlighting and seeing that it really does take a village, and it really does take our community coming together to serve all of our students. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time this morning, Adella. Again, shout out to Amanda for making this possible. With that being said, I feel it's appropriate to pass this to Keith for what's next on our agenda. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And thank you for Adella for a great presentation and all that good information. I'm just going to try to, can everybody see the slide deck again?
Yeah, we can see it.
Great. With that, yeah, let's move into, so we've got a decent amount to cover today. The Inc. Executive Committee has been very busy getting some stuff ready for today. So thank you very much for that. We have some committee reports, and then we have some announcements about some upcoming programming, as well as information about elections, the youth awards deadline and whatnot as well. But let's start off with committee reports with zoning and planning. Amber or Lucas?
Or Adam, you want to go?
Yeah, I can do mine first. I'll make it brief, Keith, for climate and sustainability. We are doing a joint meeting this month with zoning and planning and integrating sustainability into the concept of ADUs. I think that in general, sustainability covers almost every subject in some way, shape, or form. And we're going to be joining the zoning and planning committee this month to talk about that, and then future meetings I will cover at the March meeting. And I'll pass it to Amber. Thanks.
Great. We are having an amazing ADU meeting on February 22nd. I think we're going to make it a 2-hour meeting because we're going to have quite a bit to cover. We're going to have Council President Torres come talk about why she was behind the push to not blanket zone, but make it easier for districts to rezone whole neighborhoods for ADUs, as well as West Denver Renaissance Collaborative, which is working hand in hand with homeowners in the city, especially the western part of the city, showing homeowners how to set up an ADU, helping with financing, all that kind of amazing stuff. And then we're hoping to have a homeowner there who's built an ADU who can answer questions, homeowner to homeowner, which I feel like would be really beneficial to understanding what it is like to get an ADU built. So yeah, we're hoping to have a good turnout, and hope to see you there.
Bertie, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Will there be anybody there from community planning and development to talk about what are the zoning requirements and to answer questions about zoning relating to ADUs? Because I have a number of questions, and based on what I've heard of who's going to be there, there seems to be a gap.
Yeah, Gertie, we haven't gotten since we're limited with time, only being 2 hours. I mean, we could probably have a meeting every other month about ADUs. So to answer your question, I'm not, no, we do not have anybody from CPD coming. But if please come, and if we're not able to get your questions answered, come bring them, and then I will, work to get them answered for you.
Thank you.
I will just jump in and say I'm Lucas, the co-chair, that Council President Torres and the folks from the West Denver Renaissance Collaborative will have familiarity with the zoning regulations they passed on ADUs in those areas. So they'll likely be able to answer a fair number of your questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lucas.
I will just say, I think isn't there an ADU policy update that's coming up in April as well. So I think that might be worth chatting with the council president and the Renaissance Collaborative folks about if they have any information of that around that they can share too. Is there anything else, Amber or Lucas?
That's all I got.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Moving on. DEI. Lamone, are you still there? And I can
yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can put the policy statement up as well.
Okay, I appreciate that. So the DEI committee, consisting of myself, Lou Rader, and Judy Baxter, we met in January to put together the final draft for the DEI policy statement. We discussed it at the executive committee on Monday. And after input and corrections, the executive committee approved the policy that we are going to move to the delegates next month for final approval. The policy statement basically establishes a baseline as to the values of the INC and how we're going to work in community to bring RNOs in the city together, as well as build coalitions. So from there, we're already standing up a committee to look at the existing RNO handbook for updates, and we're going to incorporate the EI values in those updates. So that's all I have for now.
Thanks, Lamone. And also we'll get this, we've already sent, I think, a link to this draft out to everyone. But we'll send it out again. And I'm not able to get into the chat. So if anybody has this link and can drop it in the chat right now, that would be great. If anybody wants to view the policy statement, but we'll also be getting it out via email to everyone so they have a chance to read it. And if you have any questions, there's a note in the email that we've already sent out about this, but you can email the secretary at Denver INC email address, and we'll get that forwarded on to the correct folks to answer any questions that there might be, or bring them to the March meeting as well, and we can make sure we get folks.
Hey, Keith, I don't think it's a great idea to put a Google Docs link in the chat. I think we should just send it out via email and people can look at it.
Okay, this
Yeah.
isn't an editable version of this, so it's only view only, but yeah, that's fine.
So we have distributed it once. This is Judy here. And we have already received at least one comment. I think might be from Bruce Basket, but I might have that wrong. And I just appreciate anybody taking a look at it. If they have questions, we want to be able to address those questions and have a document to vote on at the March meeting, Keith, not really take additional changes at that point.
Sure. Okay.
Just to clarify for everybody.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, thank you. And thank you very much to the DEI committee, Judy, Lamone, and Lou Raiders for working on this very diligently to get this put together. I think this is a big step for Inc., and we're really proud of the work that got put into this. So thanks again. Let me try to bring up the slides again. All right. Education, Joanna.
Thank you for that. I would just like to say with our education committee, we are looking for volunteers. What we have been doing is just working within our schools that are in each RNO district and really just highlighting our students. We had in January, I believe, the kids who can. And so we're just focusing on that. I was hoping Steve could make it today. He is my co-chair. He will be here next month. So yeah, just that's what we are doing. We're still formulating and would just love volunteers to participate. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Joanna. So Joel is not well. I had to leave the meeting early, so I'm going to just give his report, which is that the next, oops, now I messed up something here. The next Transportation Committee meeting will be Thursday, March 14th from 6 to 8 via Zoom. The agenda is being finalized, but we have confirmed that we'll get to meet Amy Ford, the new executive director of DOTI, Denver's Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. So that is the report from Joel. Moving on, treasurer's report. Greg?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Joanna, for putting together a really interesting program. We appreciate it. For the treasurer's report, for the operating portion of our budget, we have $32,835, and our community fund totals $16,816.79. For income in January, we had 12 RNOs renewing at the standard level. That's $40. And we had 2 patron renewals. Expenses, primarily a website, MailChimp, which we now pay a monthly fee of $22.52 to be able to send emails out. And then service fees. Our total expenses for the month were $781.04. That includes paying rental storage at $610, which is the entire year. And there was no activity in our community fund. So we are hoping that more RNOs will renew. We're down slightly, so I encourage you, if you have not yet renewed your membership, please do so. You can do it online, or you can send a form in to us at Box 181012, Denver 80218. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry,
And
I'm
I
having
might add,
computer issues.
if
Go
you
ahead,
renew
Judy.
now, just to throw in, Keith, just let me throw in, if you renew now, you get an extra free month because we're doing our getting on an annual cycle. So you get a little extra bonus time if you renew now.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, Judy, do you want to just go into the
Yeah.
secretary's report?
Yeah, I'll go into the secretary's report, and if you can stop share for a minute, that would be great. Hi, everybody. The primary piece of the secretary's report, I am also the chair of the nominating committee, together with Joanna and Greg, for our INC elections. And this, I'm going to just go ahead and make that. And am I sharing?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Hold on. I'm trying to get to Zoom and share. There we go. There. Am I there?
Yeah, but you're not in presentation mode. Go to slideshow at the top.
Yep. No, I got it.
Yeah, okay.
Come on. Well, it's in sorry, hold on just a second. I'm going to stop sharing there. It's in presentation mode on my other screen. That's the problem.
You could flip them too, Judy. There's a button to flip them.
Just a second. There we go.
There you go.
Okay, we're good?
Good.
All right. So our elections are coming up next month, and I just want to keep you posted on where we are with that process and encourage you to get involved. So we have done a call for nominations. We are in the progress of identifying and interviewing and confirming interested nominees. We're in conversation with several people, but we really would encourage anybody who's interested to sorry about that, to be in touch, and there will be some outreach from some of us, including me, to encourage people to think about this. What we will do is provide everybody with the job descriptions and expectations and ask for a brief statement for their vision for how they want to engage with INC if they decide to go through and put their hat in the ring for the positions that we have open. We're here at the February delegate meeting, and so this is a place that I want to be sure to check in with everyone. Oops, I keep doing that wrong. This is our last opportunity to take any nominations from the floor. So if you have an interest in wanting today to either nominate someone or nominate yourself, please put your name in the chat, be in touch with me at this meeting or immediately after. So this is the last opportunity we can do that from the floor. However, we can continue to take nominations, and I will be searching out nominations up until about the 23rd of February. What we'll do is confirm eligibility, which is you need to be a delegate from a RNO in good standing and be willing to we'll post the slate and the statements on the website on March 1st. And at the annual meeting, March 9th, we will present that slate. The candidates will provide some intros, and we will do voting by attending delegates both online and in person. Just so you know what positions are open. We have the president and the secretary position and the officer's position, and both Keith and myself, sorry about the misspelling there, Keith, are running for re-election. We have 3 at-large positions. The candidates, Lamone Knowles is running for re-election, and we're seeking, these are the other positions that we're seeking nominations for. And just so you don't forget who we already have on board and who are not, these positions are currently filled and not up for re-election. Our Vice President, Joanna Rosa-Saenz, and thank you, Joanna, for a great program and for inspiring RNOs to think about how they can really get involved. And perhaps INC can think about how we can support our RNOs to address some of these issues. Our treasurer is Greg Sorensen. Again, a misspelling there. Sorry, Greg. And Amber Kraska and Lou Raiders in our currently filled at-large positions. And that's all. Are there any questions? I'm going to stop share and ask for any questions or any nominations that people would like to make from the floor. Please be in touch. Don't be shy. Those of you know who I'm in conversation with, and looking forward to it. All right. Thank you, Brian. Let's nominate. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Do you want to, okay, I guess I can share my screen again. Yeah. All right, moving on to yeah, Inc. Monthly Programming Initiative. So Lucas, are you on still?
I'm right here.
Great. Do you want to talk about this, or I'm happy to talk about it? And if you want to, I think since this was your idea originally, I think this would be great to talk about if you wanted to.
Yeah, I can talk about that. So this came up for the first time at the, also, hi, I'm Lucas. I'm relatively new to the organization, so I just joined up in November. At the November board retreat, we discussed ways to incentivize additional participation from RNOs that aren't currently, INC members in the organization. And part of that was through money, because people tend not to say no to that. And so we thought that for each RNO that hosts a delegate meeting, they would get $250. And if they are in this neighborhood, they would get $300. This means also, though, that the RNO would have to organize venue and food and a speaker at least 2 months prior to the delegate meeting. But they would also get a share of the agenda, bring their issues that affect their neighborhood forward. The idea here is that we diversify the topics that we talk about by bringing neighborhoods and RNOs that haven't traditionally participated or whose participation has dropped off lately, and just to bring some fresh ideas into our organization. We've provided email and phone scripts for the RNOs to make it as easy as possible to do their outreach. So like a venue script and a speaker script that you can either read or copy and paste into an email address and just plug in your the name of your organization, and the topic you'd like to talk about, the venue address, etc. So we've really tried to like lower the bar or the barriers as much as possible to participating in this program.
Awesome, thanks. Are there any questions? I don't have the chat up, so I can't see, but I don't know if there's any questions or, yeah, we're really definitely, and thank you to Lucas for putting this idea out there, and the rest of the executive committee for really supporting this and trying to get behind it. We're really trying to reach out to new neighborhoods, especially ones that haven't been involved or have been involved in Inc. in the past, and want to kind of come back and get more involved, and also to be able to, you know, really touch base with neighborhoods and find out what their issues are that they're dealing with in their neighborhoods, and really giving them a chance to highlight themselves with the entire Denver community. So yeah, with that, we'll send this out. I think we already sent one email out about this, but we will be including this in upcoming emails as well. And feel free to contact the Denver INC main account or the secretary account, or myself, which is president@denverinc.org, if you're interested. And we would love to try to get the ball rolling on doing this with several RNOs around Denver this year. So thanks again.
Keith, I'm monitoring the chat. I'm not seeing.
Okay.
I'll let you know if I do.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
The Inc. Youth Awards deadline is coming up. It's February 21st. Again, there's a 500. There are, I believe, 3 $500 awards and one $1,000 award that we're giving to youth programs that are doing civic engagement over the course of the year. And the deadline for that is February 21st. Jane Potts couldn't be here today, but she wanted me to relay that information. They have had a few programs already contact them. One of the things we're doing is, you know, in our continual focus on DEI and trying to make sure that we're making space for that in programming, is to make sure that at least one of the $500 grants is designated specifically for nest neighborhoods in Denver. And I can't list them all, but there are probably about a dozen neighborhoods in Denver that are identified as high need neighborhoods, because there's a threat from gentrification and you know, the development of the neighborhood. So we're trying to make sure that we you know, honor youth programs that are going on. And if you hear a dog barking in the background, I apologize. That's my dog trying to get into this room. So moving on from that, I think we've talked about the upcoming meetings, right? Let me see if there's anything else.
We didn't talk about March or April. Yeah, the delegate.
Oh
meeting.
yeah, Amber, why don't you go ahead then with the upcoming March meeting?
Our March meeting is going to be at Mount St. Vincent, which I'm super excited to share with everybody. It's a gem in Northwest Denver. It started in 1889 as an orphanage for boys. It started out for boys. And Keith got to come tour it with me over the weekend or last week and hear some history. So we're going to start out with a brief history and then what Mount St. Vincent is up to now. And then Councilman Sandoval is going to come and also do a welcome for us. Then we're going to have our elections, and then we're going to have Erica Rogers from Excise and Licensing come do an update of what's going on in her department at the city. And then we're going to have 2 folks from the city's attorney office come and speak about what their office can do to help neighborhoods. So I'm super jazzed and excited to share the location. And then after, Monica, who's going to be our host from Mount St. Vincent, has agreed if anybody wants to get a tour at the end, there's a beautiful chapel on the 2nd and 3rd floor where the Pope came in 1991 for Youth Day. So if you're a history buff, come join us. So thanks so much. Hope to see y'all there.
Thanks, Amber. And then on April 13th, I'm in the process of planning that meeting, which we are still looking for a location for. So if anybody's excited about having their neighborhood have Denver Inc. in it, and you have a location that you like and can fit, 20 to 40 people, let us know. We're going to talk about Vision Zero with the executive director of Denver Streets Partnership, Jill. She's great. She's very knowledgeable. We'd like to have this be a discussion and not a presentation. So we'll plan for that, and we're going to be bringing in some other people as well to support that conversation around Vision Zero in the city and county of Denver. Back to you, Keith.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Adam. I think, trying to go back up here, I think that might be all. The last thing is just that, the committee work that Inc. is, working on this year is pretty phenomenal. And we're just really excited about all the things that are going on with our committees. And I really just want to make a push for anybody that wants to get more involved in some of these issues, to please contact the committee folks, or contact the secretary's email, or you could contact me at president@denverinc.org, and just let us know, and we'll get you sent to the right folks to talk and get involved with some of this committee work that's going on, because I think there's some really great conversations happening this year, and some really important ones, and Inc. is going to be definitely involved in a lot of those. Gertie, you got a question?
Yes, I do. I don't know if other RNOs are having the same problem, but it appears that community planning and development has changed the way RNOs register with community planning and development. And I don't know if others are having this issue. What I see on the web page is that they're asking for the president and the vice president, and those are the ones that are supposed to sign up. And at least my understanding is that the Baker Neighborhood Zoning Committee was dropped from the list, even though that's where one of the notices has, one of the two emails that were receiving notices previously. And I don't know if anybody else is having this issue, or if it's just what I'm seeing happen in the RNOs that I'm involved with.
Thanks, Gertie. Is there any feedback? I haven't heard anything about that, so I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, we can definitely raise that up and see if that's an issue. All right, with that, is there anything else? I didn't see any other hands up or any other chat. Okay. Brian is saying that he can't confirm. We're new. All right. Well, with that, I think that's it. So
Could I ask Lena to stay on? Or Lena Doniker for a minute?
great. All right. I think that's it then, and we'll see everybody in March at Mount St. Vincent.
Oh, sorry.
If I may, Keith,
Pardon?
if I
Sorry,
may
I missed.
speak.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, Joanna.
Yeah, no problem. I just wanted to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to lead this month. It was so much fun getting the presenters together, and I hope that all of the delegates learned some information with what our mayor said and what DPS said, and just know that unity in the community is everything, and we're able to show love to each other in these times. And so just thank you again for this opportunity, and have a wonderful weekend and stay safe. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you so
Joanna.
much, Joanna.
Thanks, everyone.
Great. Yeah, everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy. Hopefully it won't be too slushy, the snow, and we'll see you in March, either online or in person. And I will say, having toured Mount St. Vincent, if you haven't been there, I didn't know a whole lot about it. It's a very special place, and it's been doing great work for a very, very long time.
141 years. Their
Yeah.
anniversary, their 141-year anniversary is February 15th.
So if you're able next month to get out and come over to the northwest side of Denver, it's definitely worth a visit. So with that, I will stop sharing, and thanks everyone. And Judy,
And
I think,
yeah, I want to stay on for just a second.
yeah, I'm going to get off, but I think since you're
I'm a
co-host, it
co-host,
should be fine.
yeah,
So, okay. Take care, everyone.
Dana, I just wanted to check in with you about your nomination.